In this video, we're going to talk about editing your photos. This is a great opportunity to really make a photo pop because your photos are going to be so important to people checking out your rental listings. So this is one of the nicer photos that we had looked at in the previous video, but there's still some things that can be done on this photo to make it look a little bit better. So I want to go over a few paid options and a few free options for you of things that you can check out. So if you haven't heard of the website Fiverr.com, it's a pretty interesting site. It's just Fiverr.com, and you can put in something like real estate photo editing in the top here. And what you can do is you can find people who will professionally edit your photos, and a lot of times they'll do it for as little as starting at $5. So what I'd recommend is if you're going this option, you're fine with spending, $5, $10, $20, $30 to have somebody edit your photos. Just take a look at the reviews, just kind of like you would if you're buying something on Amazon, and try and find somebody with good reviews. So not a ton of reviews here, but when you get to this one, 73 reviews, and he'll edit your real estate photos. Probably somebody overseas, and that's why it's so cheap. But it looks like if you look at the order details here, that it's a 2-day delivery, and you can get all these photos edited, and he kind of shows some examples of his work here. Some really beautiful photos. So this is one option if you want to just pay somebody to do it. Another option is some people like to use Photoshop, but this is a paid software, and I don't recommend getting it if you just want to edit your rental photos. There's a little bit of a steep learning curve with Photoshop, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend this. And if you're already familiar with Photoshop, you should be fine in this section. So what I'm going to recommend is a web-based app that's very similar to Photoshop, and what it's called is Pixlr.com. And when you go to this website, you can click up here and web apps. So there's Pixlr Express, and this is kind of more of like, your Instagram type filters and things of that nature. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to Pixlr Editor. This is very similar to Photoshop, and I'm just going to show you a couple quick tips on here. So I'm going to open an image from the computer. We're going to stick with that one of the faucet. Yeah, right here. So not a bad looking photo right now, but there's a couple things that can be done to it to make it a little bit better. On the left hand side are all your tools. If you hover over them, you'll see what they are: pencil tool, brush tool, etc. I recommend probably staying away from these unless maybe the only thing I'd recommend is the crop tool. So as you click on the crop tool, you can see you can just start cropping things out. This photo isn't bad. There's other photos that I took that I would consider cropping. You can just click, drag, and then hit enter. So we'll go with that for now, but that's the crop tool, probably the only thing I touch here. But up here you can go to adjustment, and then you can go down and you can auto levels. So take a look at the photo. All right, and on the right hand side here there's a navigator tool, and then also the layers and history. All right, so if you go into history, you can see what the original image looked like. You can then go down, see what it looked like when you cropped it, and then the auto levels. So this is just a nice way to be able to see what you've done to the photo so far. And now what I'm going to suggest is we go to adjustment and we start kind of playing with some of the hue and saturation and color balance and levels and things of that nature. So the nice thing about this is, like, I want you to take a look. I'm not going to touch the lightness or hue right now, but saturation. So take a look at the cabinets right in this area here. So they look pretty nice right now. But as you add saturation, see how it just adds a little bit more of that cherry look to it? If you go too far, it looks unnatural. Like, that's not going to look good, too much saturation. But if you look at it at 0, and then you go to, let's say we go to 20, or why don't we call it about 15 or so, you just add a little bit of saturation in there. All right. And again, you can kind of see the difference between the two really easily by going to your history. And that's what the cabinets looked like before, and that's what they look like now. So just that little bit of saturation can help. I also like to play with the brightness and contrast. So you don't want to go crazy with any of these things, because all of a sudden your photo's washed out, or even if you go too far, that doesn't look good either. And if you go too dark, so just take a look, use your eye. It looks like if we're going brightness, making it brighter, it's instantly washing out the photo. But if we're at 0 and we go just a little more, nope, brightness looks pretty good. Let's take a look at contrast. If you go too far, it's a dark kitchen. Too far to the left, goes there. Contrast is pretty good too. Sometimes I like to just up it just a little bit. Just kind of make some Yeah, let's go with about 4 or 5. Probably doesn't even necessarily need it. But again, you can just go back, look at what your original image was. See how it's kind of got it almost looks like foggy compared to the image that we're looking at now in this image. See that difference? One more time. The original image and then what we're looking at now after some edits. This is a very clean, like warm, comforting looking kitchen. And this photo that originally didn't look that bad, all of a sudden just looks a lot nicer in my opinion. So this is something that you can do on your own with this Pixlr.com. It's a free online web-based photo editing service, or you can go to a service like Fiverr.com as well. You can also find services on here where they'll stitch photos together to make like a video where it's just sliding images and maybe some background music. It's all up to you. You can definitely do that route if you want, but I would suggest kind of just putting in some time. And especially if you can keep these photos for a while, if you tend to have turnover every few years, you can always use these photos again in the future. So one last time, just because it's fun, the original image here, and then all of a sudden you're sucked in a little bit more and you got some real rich colors coming through the photo and it looks real nice.